Climbers, the Spotify Top 20. Who owns the songs? Major labels, indie labels, or the artists? You're going to be super
Ooh.
surprised on this one. So check it out. Welcome to the Climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. Leverage is what it's all about, baby. You are an entrepreneur. Congratulations. And if you want to get with the people that you want to work with, then you're going to have to build your small business up to where it's big enough and getting enough attention, and they'll come to you. It's not easy, but it's that easy. Like it's you don't need enough permission. So that's why we called it the Climb. C.L.I.M.B. Creating leverage in the music business. Brilliant. That's a Baxternym from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter, who's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Lady A, Joe Nichols, Randy Travis, and more. He's got a couple number ones last couple years in Southern Gospels, got some on the charts right now. He's charted in Texas. He's charted in Australia. The man is worldwide. But what I love about Brent is that he helps songwriters like you turn pro by revealing how you write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then on the regular, he gets you in touch with the pro so you can create relationships, which is the necessary thing. Once you're competitive, you need relationships. So it's got it all wrapped up for you, baby. You can find all of that at songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. Yeah, it's complicated, but he's smart. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production singular, no S, and there's no S because there is no other. Johnny D.
Hey, man.
How you living?
I'm living good. Okay, so this is the part where, because this drops like right after the first Climb show,
Takeover at Live Oak.
Songwriter Round Takeover, we talk about how awesome it was.
That's right. Recording before, dropping after. It was so good. It was amazing.
Amazing.
I mean, I cannot. God. I mean, when that goat like traipsed across stage, I just thought that was that like when
Donkey
does that
better.
ever
Donkey
started?
Better.
I know, but the goat when he started chewing on Chelsea Stallings like guitar string in the loose guitars, it was like in the middle of her song.
I know. I was worried he was going to get through the guitar string and get to Chelsea. There's not a lot of her.
I know she's like a single bite nugget. I don't know, but we all made it through.
So, we all made it through. Well, thank you to everybody who participated, all the artists, everybody who came out. Thank you in advance afterwards, because
exactly.
This is kind of like, this is like Inception.
It's like I always, Christmas or birthday or whatever, if I receive a gift, I'm always like, thank you before I open it, because it's honest. What if I don't like it? Then I have to give a dishonest thank you. I always say it beforehand because I mean it. Thank you.
Clever life hack. Clever life hack.
I don't wait till I open it to say thank you, because for one thing, my appreciation is not dependent upon the quality of the gift. It's dependent upon they thought of me.
There might be a little dust on the bottle. Don't
exactly.
All right, guys. Well, hey, man, today's show, first of all, shout out to Patrick Adams, longtime climber, sent me the link to this article. He's like, pretty sure you're going to like this. And he was right.
Way to go, Patrick.
Patrick, you know me better than I know myself. You complete me. Thank you. So we're going to unpack this article from Music Business Worldwide, where they dissected the top 20 from, I believe, the first week in October. So it's recent. Mm-hmm. And who owns the songs? Like who, Spotify top 20 most streamed stuff. Who owns the music? Right.
Oh, interesting.
And I think that before we get into this, listen, I want to preface this. There's a lot of big names on there that we're going to be talking about, which immediately I feel like are artists that are trying to climb up, trying to struggle, getting not trying to struggle, but are struggling,
Yeah.
are you just you're gonna dismiss it with the big names. "Oh, well, step 1, be this person or that person or whatever."
Yeah.
No, no,
Yeah.
no, no. Like, I pay attention to what I'm saying and what's going on because, there's gonna be some names you probably don't know because there's a
Mhm.
whole lot of Latin stuff in there now,
Oh,
um,
interesting. Muy
and,
bueno.
I think the big thing here is, like, where's the power coming from now, you know?
Mhm.
And what would the top 20 look like just 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Let alone 20 years ago, and who would own those songs? So,
Mhm.
this is empowerment. I want you guys to really, I want you to internalize this. The landscape is changing, and we're gonna unpack this article, and it's gonna prove to you that the landscape is changing, okay? And that's all that needs to be said about that right now. Before we get there, let's take care of some business.
Yes.
Right? We want you to join the Climb community on Facebook. That is facebook.com/groups/the Climb community. You have to ask to be let in. It's a private
Mhm.
group. We let everybody in unless you look suspect.
Hmm.
You know what I mean by how you look, but if it's a weird looking Facebook, like just opened up a Facebook account yesterday, like you're the last
Right.
person on the planet with power and a device to get on Facebook. That looks a little bizarre. We
So
don't want
just
you
be
inside selling
so if that
siding, swimming
happens
pools, shoes, or whatever.
if that happens, I think there's some questions or something. You can just type, "Hey, I'm a real person. Appreciate you, Johnny. Love
Yep,
the show."
that's
That'll
right.
get
That's
you
what I
in.
got to do.
Compliments will get you in.
Let me know it's legit. And we've actually had that happen. We had a
Yeah.
gentleman that reached out to me on DM. Hey, I got locked out of my account. Like all this stuff happened. So this is like a legit account. It's okay. And so
Yeah.
otherwise, it looked totally
Yeah.
suspect, right? And I'd be
Mhm.
like, because you know what they try to do, like the spammers and stuff. They put in like this family picture or this picture of a
Yeah.
guy, and like it just looks all normal, except for there's no posts,
Yeah.
and or there's one post, and it just opened up within the last couple weeks, and you're like,
Yeah.
no. So anyway, the this is a group of your peers, you guys. This is a group of
Mhm.
your peers, and they are supporting each other, loving each other, helping each other out with information. Right? Co-writes are getting so many co-writes now have been hooked up out of the Climb community. So we want to
Mhm.
encourage you to get in there. This is where you can ask questions about marketing, ask questions about songwriting, about anything and get some answers from Brent, from everybody else in the group, right? And
That's right.
also, you get to shine, right? We want to hear about your gigs, man. Put it as a comment on the gig post every Thursday. We want to hear about your new music. Put that as a comment on the new music post every Monday. And then what we're going to dive into right now is your wins. We want to hear about your wins, and so it's called the New Heights. It's every Wednesday. You put it in as a comment. If you don't, if you put it in on the feed's not about you. The feed's about the community. Okay.
Mhm.
The comments are about you. Feeds are
Yeah.
about the community. So if you've got something to post in the feed, it should be for everybody. Your show at the VFW in BFE, South Dakota is not for everybody, right?
Wait, did you say the VFW and BFE? I think we're writing a country song. Hold on.
There you go.
Okay.
Come on. No MTV on the RCA, no
RCA.
AC in the vents.
That's right.
So, what do we got for wins this
Well,
week?
yeah. First thing I want to say, it feels like a win for us because we tell you that people in the industry listen to this podcast, and so if you're in the industry, shout us out, let us know, or shout to us, let us know. But hey, if you want to shout us out, that's even better. But yeah, this was a shout out. This is from Paul Secord. He works with God Save Media. He's in like the Southern Gospel faith country world. So he and I've been he's been kind enough to produce some of my songs and cut them on people and that sort of thing. So he is I'm on Team Paul. But Paul, if you're listening, thank you. I just ran across the other day on Facebook where somebody in some other group or somewhere said, "Hey, what are some good podcasts?" And he was like, "Man, The Climb is like the best show for music business stuff." I was like, "Paul,
Oh, I love
thank
that.
you."
I
He's
saw
like,
that.
"Man," I
Yeah,
was like,
thank you,
"I didn't know
Paul.
you listened." He was like, "I've been listening for years."
I
So
love it.
that feels like a win for us. So
Hold
hey,
on, hold
man.
on. Speaking of listening for years,
Hmm.
thank you, Paul Secord. But you know what? Like, we got to win episode
Hmm.
400.
Oh, man, yes.
This is
What
episode
happened?
400 of just the straight episodes, of
Yeah,
that's
not
that's
counting
cool.
the Friday episodes. This is 400 of the Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Whew,
400 Tuesdays ago, we started
this
this
this should be like the,
podcast.
Tuesday Morning Music Club.
Hey!
Hat tip to Sheryl Crow.
Didn't
But yeah, but Johnny, thank you for being with me on this, well over 600 episode total journey, but 400 weeks. That's,
Yeah,
like,
that's a
stupid.
lot, man, and thank you. Thank you for always being consistent, smart, coming with the 100%, and, I dig it, man. I dig what we're doing, and I love
I
that
do
people
too.
dig what we're doing, so that's cool.
Yes, let us keep doing it for one thing, like, we just recorded before this, recorded a song title challenge, and I'm like, "That is so fun to
Mhm.
get hang out with you and another buddy, a new buddy, or an old buddy, and just get to do that." So I'm really glad we have the excuse.
Yeah.
So thank y'all. Thank you
Listen,
very
not for
much for
nothing, but it was
listening.
genius that we came up with that excuse to hang out with hit songwriters and have fun playing in the sandbox.
Yes, so we wouldn't have that
I'm
excuse
just
if
gonna
y'all
say
didn't listen, so
I
it
envy us right now.
yes.
To quote Spinal Tap.
Yes. So thank y'all for listening, because if you weren't listening, it would be, yeah, really awkward. So, all right. So other wins. Let's see. So every Thursday or every Wednesday, we post the new heights in the climb community. It's where we encourage you to share your wins with us, and so everyone knows where it is, so they can party along with you. So you're not like in the corner partying, but you're where the party is. Let's see. Bill O'Hanlon, who was at the Climb Show Takeover playing some songs last night, he said,
Yes.
"My plugger got a nice rejection email on one of my songs from Garth Brooks the other day. I'm getting rejected by bigger and bigger artists. That's progress." It
It's awesome,
is.
dude. How many friends do you have that have songs that were rejected by Garth Brooks? That is let's just start with that's a very, very small club. If
Right.
if if Bill's not in it all by himself, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's funny. So there's a whole conversation thread underneath that, which is part of why we put it in under a post, is that people know where to find it and they can comment and go back and
Yeah,
forth, and it's easier. So it fosters community there. So
there's methods
another.
behind our madness.
Yes. Also, climber Sunday Joe Graham, who was also performing at the Climb Takeover last night in the same round with Bill, um, said, "Just got word last night that I'm getting a Southern Gospel slash faith country cut. I might
Oh,
have peed a little with excitement."
hell yeah, but that's a long time coming for Sunday Joe.
Yes.
I is that her first cut or no? That's not her
I don't think that's her first cut. I know she's putting out her own stuff, but,
yeah.
so I'm not gonna say it's her first cut. I don't think it is, but, because she didn't say first, she said getting A. I think she's had others, but she's
Listen, I'm
climbing.
okay, aside from the fact that we gotta give Sunday Joe another shout out because she does all the graphics for the show, and she's been
Yes,
doing it
thank
for
you,
a
Sunday
while, and we're
Joe.
so grateful for that. She does a fantastic job.
Yes,
But you
much
know what?
less of the every once in a while an inappropriate one comes through when Johnny does it, and people go, "Is everything okay, Brent? This graphic on here?" I'm like, "Johnny did that." I got that one time. I got that. It was like for one of the song title challenges, which was a little bit of a risque title, and Johnny goes, "Okay, here we go with the graphic," and somebody like emailed me, was like, "Is everything okay, Brent? I mean, this doesn't seem like you." I'm like, "Yeah, that's Johnny." So there you go.
Well, that now you know why listen, this is why I'm not allowed to do the graphics anymore. You get what you're gonna get. I don't know what to say about that, but I what I wanted to say about Sunny Joe is, like, I'm invested in her, man. I remember when she first came into the climb,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I know she's been working her butt off, um, and so I love it. I love it when, people come into this community and just get to work, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then
Mhm.
get results. Like, it's
Yeah.
I love it. So,
And that's
Sunny
just the
Joe,
way of the world.
you just made my whole month by being friggin' awesome. So, thanks.
Yes, thank you. And congratulations to all y'all with wins, more than we have time to share, but keep on
Yep.
climbing.
Alright, well, let's get into this here. So,
Yes.
um, music business top 20. This is, uh I gotta allow for the, uh, for the cookies here.
No.
So this is Music Business Worldwide. This came out October 10th. The Spotify Top 20 is a snapshot of a much bigger story about independence, majors, and artist ownership, okay? So we're going to kind of unpack this. I'm going to go through it pretty quick, and then we just want to discuss a few things here. Because what I'm about to explain to you doesn't happen 10 years ago. It doesn't
Mhm.
happen 10, just 10 short years ago. Maybe not 5 years ago, even. Okay.
Mhm.
So it's rapidly changing over who's driving the boat, right? Who's in control? Who has the power to get into a Spotify top 20 biggest global tracks right now? Okay. So if you're thinking that the major record companies own the songs, you're half right. Spotify's latest daily top 20 global song charts as of October 9th is a striking snapshot of a global industry whereby hit artists and non-major music companies outside the big three are holding on to the ownership of the recording copyrights more often than you might expect. Spotify just doesn't just present us with a chart and song information. It also publishes a phonogram ownership credit, which is designated with a P next to the mark, and for each record on the service there, right? So they know who owns it, who doesn't.
Hmm.
Music Business Worldwide has analyzed this ownership information for each of the current top 20 biggest songs in the world, with an interesting picture emerging. According to Spotify's credits, a minority 3 of the tracks in the top 20 are outright owned by any of the major labels.
Oh, wow. So you got the
3.
big 3 with 3.
Look at that. Just let that sink
Marinate
in
in
for a
that for a
second.
second.
Marinate in that.
Yeah.
You remember? Okay, so maybe this, like, metaphor, sometimes I get, like, really, like, I get big ideas, and sometimes I don't do a very good job of communicating them, but do you remember when I was talking about, um Netflix, right? And
Mhm.
I was trying to communicate to you climbers how the titans of the big industries in entertainment are not titans anymore when there's a paradigm shift in the market. And the example I was using was that for 70 years, the networks, which was for most of those years with three, and then it was four, right? ABC,
Mhm.
NBC, CBS, and Fox own the Emmy Awards. It's their big commercial where they put all their stars in one room and they give out
Yeah.
awards, and you don't get an Emmy unless you're on a major label or unless you're on a major network. And you don't get on a major network unless, like, one of those four guys at the top says yes, right? You talk about
Yeah.
permission. So for 70 years they own it, and then in 2020 Netflix is nominated for 161 Emmys, and the nearest network was 31.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a massive shift in power, and I mean, it's like their house, it's their show, the network, and they're
Yeah.
like the head network heads. I promise you, like, pandemic aside, probably weren't even bothering to show up because why would I want to waste my night? I'm not going to win anything, right?
Yeah. It's like, you
There's
come into
nothing,
my
nothing
house,
to
you
see.
drink my liquor, you kiss my wife. What are you doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, right? And so
Yeah.
what was the power shift? I mean, the Netflix was the first show in 2013, just 7 years prior, to have a show nominated for an Emmy, but was actually nominated for 8 Emmys, that was strictly going to be streaming only. It was never, ever meant for broadcast from the get-go.
Mhm.
And so, there's the paradigm shift. We're going to streaming, and now all of a sudden the power is decentralized, right? And
Yeah.
anybody can get in. So, wow, I mean, that's amazing. So, out of the top 20 tracks on Spotify's largest global tracks, top 20, in October 3rd, only 3 of them are owned by the major labels, okay?
Mhm.
Now, those same 3 majors exercise some degree of control via licensing agreements
Mhm.
over another 8 tracks on the rundown.
Okay, so we're up to 11.
So, but those are licensed, like, this is when the artist gets so big that it's valuable to them to have the infrastructure and the
Mhm.
human resources, and to make a deal then with the major labels. It's a license agreement. Before, these artists were, I mean, they were owned by the record labels.
Yeah.
They were slaves, right? Like, I mean,
Well, that's a
A lot
strong
of those
word, but yes,
contracts look
they
pretty
were
bad, man. A
the
lot of those
power were
contracts.
yeah, the power ran one way,
The
right?
power ran one way. It's very uneven. And here, this is like, okay, I'm going to let you, because all the labels, I'm sure, are going to these artists wanting to do the license agreements because we can provide a service that can make
Mhm.
us both money, but they don't own it. They're just going to handle the administration of it, which
Well,
is
that's the thing, if
fantastic.
you're
Right?
starting from nothing and you're getting a record deal, that's no how many years, how many records do they lock you in for? A lot, right? And it's
Yeah.
their option. If it's a license deal, that means you're already coming with leverage,
Yeah.
and then I bet it's a lot shorter term because you can turn around and go somewhere else if they're not pulling their weight because they
Because
work
because there's
yeah.
gonna be an out clause for you, right? Because you
Yeah.
don't need that label to succeed. You've already got the traffic, you've already
Mhm.
got the brand, and what you need from them is help administering, and that's just a service that any one of these other people can do too. So it puts it shifts the balance of power, and they have to go and do a good job. Not that they wouldn't do a good job for it if they owned it as well, but
Right.
you get my point. I mean,
Well,
this is about leverage. It really is.
yeah, and so with the record deal, they'll lock you in for this really long thing because like, hey, if you're starting from scratch, basically, we're going to invest in you. We're going to lose a lot of money on you in the front end, and so we want to make sure you stick around so we can share in the benefits of that. And
Yeah.
I get that. I understand that. Okay, but that's
Yep.
how it is. So we're going to lock you in because that way we're going to help you blow up, hopefully, and then we're going to therefore we win too. With a
Yep.
licensing thing, it must you come with leverage, so you must be doing something right already. And now you're going, okay, let's take this to another level. And if you don't, then I'm going to take it down the street to somebody else who maybe will. And so
Yeah,
it just, yeah, the
the same
leverage.
way you might change a lawn mowing service on your front lawn. If they stop doing a good job, there's
Hmm.
somebody else that can help you do a good job, and you're not, like, locked into the lawn mowing service, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you're exactly right. I mean,
Hmm.
and this is what we mean by leverage. This is what the climb is built for, this kinda stuff right here, you know? I
Hmm.
love this. I love that Patrick Adams sent this to me. So, that leaves 9 records in the top 20, almost half of the chart credited as being fully independently owned, indicating no major label equity in these tracks outside of, in some cases, a distribution and marketing relationship, which
Hmm.
is again an after the fact thing. This artist wasn't signed to the label to be marketed. The label's like, hey, we can help you with this. Like, look at what value we can bring to your team. And the label's got their hat in their hand and wanting to get on the team. That's a different situation, you know.
Yes, it is.
Um, so when you look at the list here, number one is Seven and Young Kook featuring Lotto, Paint the Town Red with Doja Cat, Greedy, Tate McRae, um, song 3D with Young Kook featuring Jack Harlow, IDGAF, Drake featuring Yeet, Si No Estás, Inigo Quintero, Strangers, Kenya Case, Number 8 is the, first person shooter, Drake featuring J. Cole. Number 9 is Cruel Summer, Taylor Swift. Number 10 is, QLONA, Clona, Carol G, and Peso Pluma. Number 11, Lala and Mike Towers. Number 12, Virginia Beach by Drake. Number 13, Milo J, BZRP Music Sessions. Number 14, My Love All Mine, Mitski. Number 15, Gently, Drake featuring Bad Bunny. Number 16, Slime You Out, Drake featuring SZA. Number 17, Un Preview, Bad Bunny. Number 18, Vampire, Olivia Rodrigo. Number 19, I Want to Be Yours, Arctic Monkeys. And number 20, What Was I Made For, Billie Eilish. Okay. So the number one track, Young Kook featuring Lotto, is credited on Spotify as being fully owned by a Korean music giant, Big Hit, which is Hybe, Hybe. Those are the guys that are coming out with all that K-pop stuff that are just
Yeah.
crushing it, right?
Hmm.
Now the track has been released through Geffen, Interscope, and A&M in the United States. Spotify's credit indicates that it is a distribution plus marketing services relationship. So they're providing like label services to the company that's already got the traffic,
Yeah.
right?
So I mean, it's basically a major. It's just Korean.
Uh,
Sounds like a
well,
big
but it's
Korean.
not a major, right? But they have enough. They got enough leverage to
Yeah.
work with the majors to provide certain services that are going to add value to what they're doing.
Yeah. But it sounds like
Uh,
it's the label, the Korean label is a legit
y-
one. Like it's
yeah,
a,
yeah, that's a
it
big
would be
one.
a, yeah.
Big Hit and Young Kook also claim the number 4 position on the current Spotify Top 20 with 3D featuring Jack Harlow. Again, on Spotify, this is credited as pure Big Hit owned record. Big Hit owner hype can't really be classed as a non-major, quote unquote, of course,
Okay.
because it generated um, 1.778 billion dollars, or I'm sorry, that's Korean money. This is, I don't even know what they call Korean money. It's $1.37 billion globally in the US dollars in the calendar year of 2022. That's all the K-pop stuff, and now
Hmm.
they're getting in with this Young Kook and all that.
Hmm.
Um, all the same, the underlying ownership of Young Kook's big hits today appears to sit outside of the big three major labels.
Hmm.
So, what the majors own and what they license between Young Kook and Hybe slash Big Hits, two entries in Spotify Top 20. There are two records that are credited as being fully owned by the major labels. Doja Cat's Paint the Town Red at number 2 and Tate McRae's Greedy at number 3. Paint the Town Red is credited as being owned by Kemosabe RCA, both labels that sit with Sony Music, and Kemosabe was previously run by producer Dr. Luke. Greedy, meanwhile, is credited as being fully owned by RCA Sony Music. The one top 20 track with the P credit that indicates full major label ownership is What Was I Made For, which is Billie Eilish,
Hmm.
one of the standout pieces of original music in the 2023 Barbie movie. Eilish's music is, according to Spotify's credits, owned by Dark Room Interscope Records. Dark Room was founded by Justin Lubliner in 2014 before becoming an imprint of Universal Music Group owned Interscope via a deal between Lubliner and Interscope and Geffen A&M boss John Janik that was inked before the mainstream rise of Eilish. Interestingly, there are a number of other records in the current Spotify Top 20 whose P credits indicate that the underlying master recording is owned by the artist.
There we go.
I'm going to say that again. So a P credit means that's who owns the publishing, right? So
Hmm.
interestingly, there are a number of other records in the current top 20 whose P credits indicate that the master recording is owned by the artist
Wait,
and then
so
licensed for an undetermined amount of time to major labels.
wait, okay, so we talking about like publishing or master?
No, sorry, master recording is what we're talking about here. So
Okay.
master,
That
the
threw me there
master
when you
recording.
threw out publishing because that's a whole different
Yeah,
part of the
I
biz.
misspoke.
So we're
It's
talking who
master
owns
recording.
the master?
Who owns
All
a
right,
master?
which is the sound recording that you're hearing on Spotify. That's what the
Right.
master is.
So, when you talk about what you're getting per stream, let's say on
Mhm.
Spotify, okay, um, it's 0.007, right, for the that goes for the copyright,
Yeah,
and
which is publishing money. Yeah.
which is publishing, right? So 50% of that's going to go to whoever owns the publishing.
Mhm.
And so that's like 0.0035, right? And then
Yeah.
the other 0.0035 cents is split amongst the writers,
Right.
right? But when you own the master,
That's
it's
a whole
another
different revenue stream.
0.0032. Yeah.
That's a different revenue stream. That's a different cutout from the Spotify revenue.
That's right.
That didn't come out of the
So,
publishing. It's a whole different stream, which I, as a songwriter, do not participate in currently.
okay. All right. So, interestingly, there are a number of other records in the current Spotify top 20 whose P credits indicate that the underlying master recording is owned by the artist.
Hmm.
Okay. And then licensed for an undetermined amount of time to the major labels. I'm going to say that again. Okay. There are a number of other records in the current Spotify top 20 whose that P credit indicates
Hmm.
that the master recording is owned by the artist and that they are then licensed to the major label. One of
Yeah.
those records is the fast rising Strangers by British artist Kenya Grace, which is at number 7 right now. This is licensed by Warner Brothers Major Recordings, Warner Brothers Major Recordings by the artist's own KGJ Music. KGJ stands for Kenya
Mm,
Grace
Grace.
Johnson,
There you go.
right? Another example is Carol G's Culona at number 10 with Peso Pluma. That track is owned by the label Bishota Records LLC, which was founded by Carol G herself and
Hmm.
then licensed through Interscope Records.
And some people maybe listen to this going, yeah, but those people are famous. I've heard of them. Exactly.
Precisely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a similar setup for one of the biggest new US pop artists on the planet, Olivia Rodrigo. I think a lot of people
Hmm.
know her name.
Yeah.
Rodrigo's current highest charting track, Vampires, credited on Spotify as being owned by the artist herself, but
Wow.
being licensed again for an undetermined amount of time through Interscope. um, Now, who's the artist whose ownership license through a major label set up as having the biggest current impact on the global streaming charts? Drake. So,
Yeah. He's on there a few times.
yeah, since the release of his Certified Lover Boy album in 2021, ownership of the recordings of Drake's studio albums has been credited to his own label, OVO, but licensed through Universal's Republic Records.
Hmm.
And it's the same structure for Drake's latest LP, for all the dogs, released on October 6th, which at the time of publication of this article had 5 tracks within Spotify's daily top 20 global tracks. So Drake's albums prior to Certified Lover Boy were fully owned by Young Money, Cash Money, which is a label combination that they believe is wholly owned by Universal Music Group.
Hmm.
So it kind of sounds like um, the whole thing with Drake, like that contract expired and he
Hmm.
made a different deal, 'cause like maybe
Yeah.
in sports, it's like after you're drafted and then you become a free agent, but if you're money, uh, you get good deals.
Yeah, exactly.
So then dig this, Brent. There's a huge Latin impact here on artist independence. Okay,
Hmm.
so there's a new wave of independently owned recordings that have a market impact on Spotify's global top 20 at the moment. All of them are from Latin America. It can be
Okay.
seen, of course, with Bad Bunny, you can't get away from that name now, whose
Yeah.
recordings are owned by Remus Entertainment, and Bunny and his manager Noah Assad are shareholders. Although reports suggest that Sony may soon or may already own a minority stake in the company, but they're coming in after the castle was
Yeah.
built, the sandbox. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Bad Bunny and other Remus recordings are distributed by Sony's The Orchard, and that setup claims the number 17 place on the Spotify chart above with Bunny's Un Preview. By the way, my artists are distributed by The Orchard, so this is stuff you
Yeah.
guys can do, right? Um,
Hmm.
the highest placing fully independent Latin track on the above Spotify top 20 is Si No Estás by Inigo Quintero at number 6. And with over 50 million Spotify streams to date, the record, according to Spotify's credits, is fully controlled by the independent company Acoustic, which is spelled weird. It's ACQUSTIC. It is distributed by Believe. The Latin independent influence on Spotify's top 20 doesn't end there. The Spanish language record La La by Mike Towers, which is at number 11, is, according to Spotify's data, owned by the indie label One World International and distributed by Warner Music Latin Warner Music. Elsewhere, the latest hit from Argentine DJ Bizarrap, a new BZRP track with Milo J, is fully owned by the Latin indie label powerhouse Dale Play. Okay, so uh, the next section here is really fascinating. The indie thoroughbreds make their mark, including Taylor Swift.
Hmm.
There's that name again,
That little
Taylor
indie
Swift.
artist that could. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a whole nother article to be written on this topic, but at which point do we start classing Taylor Swift as an independent artist?
Hmm.
Okay. The first 6 albums of Swift's career were famously owned and released by Big Machine. And Big Machine, the label itself, is now owned by Hybe, which is
Hmm.
the
Korean.
Korean huge Korean company. Okay.
Hmm.
The master tracks for Swift's first big 6 LPs were, if you remember, they were famously she was outbid by Scooter Braun,
Mhm.
and Scooter Braun sold those to Shamrock Capital, who still owns them, okay?
Mhm.
Since 2019, though, Swift has owned the masters to each subsequent record she has released. From that year's uh, Lover, which is 2019, through 2022's global smash Midnights. This explains why Swift's sole entry on the current Spotify Top 20, Cruel Summer, which is from the Lover album, is credited as Taylor Swift with the owning the master.
Yeah.
Okay. Dudes, I mean, holy crap, right?
Yeah.
Swift's records are distributed and quote unquote serviced, meaning marketed and promoted by Universal Music Group and Republic Records, but she owns them outright.
Mhm.
So, finally, it's interesting to see the two mainstays in the independent label world claim two entries on the current hottest tracks at the moment. Dead Oceans, which is part of the Secretly group, claims the number 14 spot with My Love All Mine by Mitski, and Domino Recording Company claims the number 19 slot on the list with I Want to Be Yours by Arctic Monkeys. So, interestingly enough, I Want to Be Yours is the oldest track on this current Spotify Top 20 because it was originally released in 2013.
Oh,
So,
wow.
uh, I was saying this. I mean, you guys, when you're looking at this, I know these are a lot of names that you know, but all the record label names are the
Mhm.
names of the companies that own the master tracks. You don't know those names
Right,
because
yeah.
they're independent. And then
Mhm.
they're licensed through Interscope or Universal or through Warner. Um, so these artists are in joint ventures with these labels now, and that's the new business model at the top, and
Yeah.
it's the business model at the bottom, right? So if we go and revisit Brent, you remember the couple podcast episodes we did about the Spotify reports on
Mhm.
artists that made at least $50,000 in revenue per year, right? In
Yeah.
2020, that number was 13,400 artists made at least 50 grand. Now that's everybody from your local indie artist up
Yeah.
to, Elvis, right? Like, to the
Mhm.
people who make the most amount of money on Spotify. But, um, when we backed out the major label, current major label and label artists, and we backed out, we put a little slush in there for some lucky people and some super rich people or whatever, and then
Yeah.
we figured out mathematically that, and I'm pretty on point with this number, that around 2,700 of those 13,400 artists are multi-million dollar brand names, legacy acts, right? Over the
Yeah.
last
Mhm.
60 years.
Yeah.
Okay, 2,700 artists, right, over the last
Mhm.
60 years got on the radio and got brand names big enough to be pulling that kind of traffic on Spotify. To They're making millions, but
Yeah.
bottom line, it's more than 50 grand, right? Which left 8,400 indie artists like you that
Mhm.
figured out a way to make money, and they own their masters,
Yeah.
okay, and they own their publishing, and they're
Mhm.
doing it all themselves, and the world is your oyster. If you've ever seen Scarface, right, where
Mhm.
he looks up at the Goodyear blimp in that scene, and it just that the sign, the digital sign on the Goodyear blimp says, "The world is your oyster." It is, man. It's up to you, and these are the kinds of people, you can work with an Interscope, you can work with a Warner when you get that traffic up and you keep doing
Mhm.
what you're doing, but you can make cash flow now. You can make a living doing this, but guys, you gotta be in business. You have to be a business person. You have to be an entrepreneur. If
I mean,
it's a different skill set, right?
you're making me think when you talk about, people that partner with the majors, because they built their up enough leverage. It's kind of, I think, it's football season, so I'm thinking about football going, yeah, you wanna work with the Packers or the Titans or whoever, the Chiefs. Well, you build up your leverage in your college team.
Mhm.
You go get on a college team, doesn't matter if you walk on, right? Because there's a famous story of Brandon Burlsworth, or at least famous among Arkansas fans, and they made a movie about him. But Brandon Burlsworth, uh, who walked on at Arkansas, played his way to All American, got drafted by the Colts.
Yep.
Okay, that's
It can
you,
happen.
right? That's what you want to happen. Walk
Yes.
on. You're all walk ons in the music business, by the way. We are all walk ons.
Good
Nobody
point.
gives us a scholarship, right? We're all walk ons. You play your way into a scholarship, maybe get a publishing deal, maybe independent label or whatever, or you just stay walk on. But the thing is, there comes that point where the majors or the NFL teams or the majors start sniffing around, going, "You want to come play for us?"
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly,
That
and can we make a
it's a
deal? Can
limited
we add
analogy.
value to your cause here? Because and that's why I said they're gonna come out of the woodwork. This is the leverage, guys. The leverage is
Mhm.
happening on the bottom of the pile, and it's also happening on the top of the pile more and more and more, right? Like,
And
artists are coming off of the deals on major labels and creating JVs, joint
mhm.
ventures.
Yeah, and the people in the first round have a lot more bargaining leverage because they know they're wanted and they've proven it more so than Mr. Irrelevant, the guy that's drafted last in the 7th round or whatever the NFL draft,
Yeah,
commonly knows Mr. Irrelevant. He's not gonna have nearly or a undrafted free agent, that happens.
yeah,
They're not gonna have nearly the leverage. They're just hoping to make a roster.
yep,
But thing is, those people that are in the first round, they've played themselves into that
mhm,
position. It
yes,
is because of what they've put on the field, and you have that opportunity. The field is open. You can walk on,
yep.
go play, you put numbers up, and they're gonna come calling.
Hey, this is actually
Might be a whole
more of a
different episode,
even
but
a more dimensional metaphor that you're using, right? Because it's not
yeah,
enough that you can run a 4.440, right? It's
right.
not enough that you're fast. It's not enough that you can catch a ball or throw a
Mhm,
ball. It's not enough that you're a beast and you can block
mhm.
you have this raw talent, right? What else do you have to be? You have to be a student of the freaking game, literally,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm,
And you want to talk about, guys, NFL offenses and NFL defenses are so freaking sophisticated. Okay.
mhm.
They're so sophisticated. And these guys all got to have that going on. They have to
Yeah,
know on this play exactly where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to do. Right.
yeah.
Or it doesn't work. And you have to have 11 guys that all know what they're supposed to do and where they're
Mhm.
supposed to be on this play or it doesn't work, okay?
Yeah.
And so that's you guys. Like, you can't just go through your artist career with your head up your ass. Like, you can't. You have to
Mhm,
be you have to be a student of the game. You have to be a business person. If you know that you suck at business, if you're aware that you suck at business, then
mhm.
you need to get with somebody who's good at business.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
and go
Yeah.
outside and get that tool because you're gonna need to do that to get to where you wanna go, but this the path is there,
Mhm.
okay, and it can be done because here's the cherry on top, and I'll end it right here. The next year, on 2021, the report from Spotify was 30 was instead of 13,400 artists that made at least 50 grand in streaming money from Spotify, it went to 16,500. That's 3,100 additional artists that figured out how to make at least 50 grand.
Mhm.
They didn't come from the labels, man. They
Yeah.
didn't. Okay. They figured it out on their own. Okay.
Mhm.
And just put that in perspective. Over the last 60 years, 2,700 artists, even if I'm off by 1,000 on that, okay?
Yeah.
2,700 artists across all genres, across 60 years, got enough attention to make money in the music business.
Mhm.
And from 2020 to 2021, 3,100 brand new artists figured out how to make at least 50 grand.
Yeah.
Right? This is the 4-minute mile, okay? It's been cut
Yeah.
it's been crushed so many times now.
Mhm.
All you gotta do is get it together and start working. You're gonna have to put in 40 hours, man. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
put that work in, and it will happen for you. So that's it, guys. I mean, there it is. Thank you again to Patrick Adams for sending that in. This is
Mhm.
all about leverage. This is all about the power that you can have because guess what? You know what? When you really do blow up, um, they're still running the show,
Yeah.
right? Or some of these
Yeah.
artists, I mean, I don't think Drake's indie. I don't think he breaks indie. I think he's on a major. I think the Cash Money label
Yeah.
was a major, and then that contract ran out. That contract expired. He's like, now I'm going to
Mhm.
create my own thing. I'm going to own my own stuff, and he knows exactly what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
So he's the businessman. Why? Because then you can control it, and
Mhm.
you can't be like cut from the label because the genre they're going to decide the genre is going to change,
Yeah.
right? I mean, no, it's like you control everything. As long as you got the traffic, you're good. So
Yep.
there you go, guys. That brings us to the end of another Killer Climb episode. Make sure that you join the Climb community, tell a friend about it, and know that you got the power, guys. You have the power. This podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.